This is a special report from ABC News Digital.
I'm Dan Kleffler in New York with this ABC News Digital special report. Well, they can't kick him out of office, so the Toronto City Council is doing the next best thing, stripping crack-smoking Mayor Rob Ford of almost all his powers, slicing his budget, essentially reducing him to a figurehead. You're looking at a live City Council meeting that's happening right now. Ford, though, not without allies. Here's Councillor Giorgio Mammoliti.
Councillor Mammoliti.
Madam Speaker, after looking at legal advice, I've come to realize that it is not in my best interest as a councillor to vote on anything today at its final stages, that I will be making some amendments or trying to make amendments to make this matter legal, and I will stand and speak to that effect, but I will not play part of this illegal meeting.
All right.
And so, the mayor's brother, Doug, also voted against those penalties. It's something the men could discuss on their new TV show, that program beginning tonight. Here's a preview.
I'll do a drug test and alcohol test right now. And I put a motion forward that every councillor do it too. You know what? They jumped up. They don't want anything to do with it. And then when our last council meeting, everyone says, "Oh, we're going out drinking after."
Put that back on the next meeting?
Yes, absolutely. I don't want to do this. I'm not a rat, Joe. You know what? I know people party on the side. I know lawyers, doctors, everybody has a good time.
You know who's done it? Anybody on
I'm not going to name names. That's not.
Why not? Why not? Your name is out there. Why not?
No, but let them vote on it and see who comes forward and who doesn't.
So, a request there for all council members to be drug tested. With that, we are joined by Toronto Sun City Hall Bureau Chief Don Peet. Don, thanks for joining us today.
No problem.
All right, so what is today's vote? What's essentially going to take away from Ford that it hasn't already been taken away?
Today they'll basically be taking away the mayor's staff. He'll be cut from about 20 people down to 8. And he'll also be losing most of his office budget. So he'll basically be mayor in name only after today. He still will be able to show up at events. He'll still be the city's CEO, but he won't be running the ship. He definitely won't be steering it.
He holds the title, but he won't hold the budget anymore.
Exactly.
So Councillor Doug Ford, he challenged the proceedings today. I want to listen to what he said.
Has he showed up to work every day and fulfilled his job?
Councillor, those
Please,
inquiries.
no disruptions.
Those inquiries belong to one of the accountability officers to be reviewing if there's an issue.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you for answering the question, because what it should be, the complaint should be filed through the city's integrity commissioner rather than this kangaroo court. Do you not agree?
That's not a question for me to agree with or not.
Then who is it to ask? The process of this council, if there's a code of conduct, should be going through the right process. It shouldn't be happening with I'm getting to my question, thank you. Okay, Councillor Ainsley, you got your own issues.
Councillor
Ford. I
Ford.
wouldn't be saying too much.
So, Don, let me ask you about that. He said he's got his own issues. Who was he referring to, and what was he referring to?
Councillor Doug Ford was referring to Councillor Paul Ainsley, who earlier this year was stopped in a police roadside check. He ended up getting a 3-day license suspension for what he blew on the breathalyzer that night. He wasn't charged with impaired driving, but he did get a license suspension. So that was a dig at the councillor for that. Interestingly enough, the mayor, after that comment was made, actually mimed drunk driving at Ainsley, trying to push his buttons as well. So you're seeing a pretty heated council meeting already, and they're still just asking questions of staff. They haven't actually got to the speeches and the debates on the matter.
It really has gotten to be very contentious in Toronto. Explain a little bit about the city council. I mean, Ford is still the head of the council, right? And if he is, why couldn't he just cut this vote off?
He derives his power, a lot of his power, from council. He has the power to call council meetings, he doesn't have the power to end a council meeting. And this meeting actually was called by a majority of city councillors. If enough of them get together, they actually can overpower the mayor on a lot of situations, and that's why you're seeing this happen today.
Well, what about actually outside of Toronto? Is there another power in the province of Ontario, in fact, that could intervene in this?
Yeah, the premier could intervene on this matter. She hasn't done that yet, and she's made it clear the business of the city would actually have to be stalled. It would have to, the city itself would have to not be working before she'd get involved, and she'd need a clear signal from council. I think a lot of councillors are hesitant to bring the province into this issue because they think they can deal with it here themselves, and they don't want to go to that level of government asking them to intervene because it would they feel, cheapen their level of government.
The mayor made a pretty public appearance Sunday in his favorite piece of outerwear. What happened?
The mayor ended up showing up at the Toronto Argonauts game. It was a playoff game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, little Canadian football, not American football. And he got to the game. He was kind of hailed as a rock star by a lot of people, but I think he was also kind of getting his a fair share of jabs from a lot of the football fans there. He definitely was kind of mauled by people wanting to get a picture with him, wanting to get his autograph, trying to be a part of this ongoing political story that seems more like a reality TV story at the time.
Don, lastly, before we let you go, then, what has been the reaction, obviously, for people that you talk to on the street, because I know this has sort of played out over the past couple of days. When the story first broke, I think a lot of people in Toronto, and I'm sure around the world, were very surprised about this now. Is there a sense of exasperation that this was just done and over with and no one wants to hear about this?
There's definitely exasperation. I think a lot of people are shocked that he hasn't been shamed by this, hasn't kind of come forward and stepped aside, at least temporarily, to deal with a lot of these personal issues and to kind of take the heat off the story. But, I think people are shocked that he's done the things that he's admitted to, and they're even more shocked by the allegations that are still out there. So we're all following along this kind of car crash of a story, but I think you're right. People are tired of it. They're tired of Toronto being a joke around the world, that's for sure.
Well, certainly all eyes are on Toronto right now as we are waiting to see how this will all unfold. Don Pete from the Toronto Sun, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. We do have a complete report right here on abcnews.com. For now, I'm Dan Kleffler in New York with this ABC News Digital Special Report.